Hi dear ones, Lisa A. Romano here, the life coach, and I've been asked to do a video that speaks specifically to how we, adult children of alcoholics, adult children of narcissistic parents, adult children of the dysfunctional, how can we learn how to integrate and finally feel our feelings? It's so important that we understand that we have a huge disconnect to how we feel because going back to childhood, nobody ever checked in with how we felt. And so we became out of focus. We became obsessed with trying to please mother, obsessed with trying to please father, and all children do. And I believe to a great extent, all of us suffer just with, trying to figure out where do we draw the line between pleasing our parents and pleasing ourselves. Like, when does that line get blurred, and when should we start peeling back? Certainly, if we've progressed through the natural stages of emotional development, then we have a much easier time learning about where that line is. And if mom or dad becomes intrusive, we're able to say, "Listen, mom, dad, your inquiry is a little intrusive, and I ask you to respect my space." If mom and dad are healthy, then they will. If mom and dad are not healthy, then they will berate you. They will go over that line. They will harass you and whatnot. And so it's important that before I get into this lesson that we have some understanding as to why we have such a difficult time feeling our feelings. So many of us are very intellectual because we're out of focus. Remember, the intellect represents things that we can control in our environment. We were excellent cheerleaders. We were excellent soccer players. We were excellent violinists. We were excellent blah, 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 whatever. We excel, we overachieve. Some of us don't do that. Some of us take the exact opposite approach because we were never able to get any sort of praise or direction from mom and dad. So this is all about growing the hell up and taking responsibility for how we feel and learning how to finally say, okay, this is what happened in my past. This is why I have this programming. Now what the hell am I going to do about it? And that's what I'm all about. Yeah, we have to understand why. Okay, there's a time for that. But at the end of the day, we have to figure out how to feel what we feel, honor that, and begin making life choices that are in our best interests so that we are now responsible for what happens to us next, and we become the deliberate creators so that we don't have to blame anybody else for why we're pissed off. We don't have to blame people for why we're not getting to where we need to get. We are willing to take total responsibility for what's happening in our lives. So we're going to learn how to feel our feelings. So we're going to learn how to get out of our head, and we're going to learn how to tune into self. But before we do that, we need to understand the process, okay? So what I want you to understand is that I have 3 paper plates here. And just bear with me. You guys know, if you're watching my channel enough, you know I like diagrams and stuff. And so we have the mind, we have the body, and we have the self, the essence of us that represents our spirit. For those of my clients and YouTube viewers that have an issue with the word spirit, just change it to self, the essence, that's you, your feelings and or your vibrations. So the vibrational aspect of you. So in my humble opinion, I believe that the body and the self are more divinely connected or naturally connected, and probably always connected, more so. So they are one. The essence of this ain't easy, y'all. This ain't easy. I'm trying. The essence of us is always sending signals to the body. Okay. Now the brain in us ain't always listening. The brain is not always listening to the body. So I can feel anxiety. I can hate my husband. I can hate being domestically abused. And my body can feel that, but my mind will keep me stuck. Like, I can't leave him. I can't move on. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. So no matter what my body's saying, my mind is justifying why I'm staying. So what we have to learn to do, I think the easiest way to learn how to integrate and become one, mind, body, and soul. See how that works? Mind, body, and self. The best way to do that, and the easiest way to do that, is to begin tuning into how you feel. So how your body feels. Like, when I'm around this person, how do I feel? Oh, I feel anxious around that person. Okay, listen to that cue. You can ask yourself why you feel anxious later, but that's going to come from the mind. Why do I feel anxious is going to come from the mind. Now, the mind has been tainted by dysfunctional programming, and that sounds like, you know, kind of frightening because, am I saying that I shouldn't trust the mind? Um, I'm saying y'all better trust your body first until you get this stuff straightened out in your head. I'm saying that you'll have an easier way moving forward if you begin trusting how you feel, how your body feels first, and then start working through learning how to process information through your mind. So, for instance, let's say um, one of the clients I had this morning who actually suggested, "Hi, Allison," that I make this video. In her situation, she has great, tremendous anxiety and frustration in the job that she's at. And so it's been that way for a while. And when I asked her, well, what kind of job would you thrive in? And she went right into the kind of job that she would thrive in. And so what I tried to help her understand, that the anxiety that she's feeling in her body every day going to work is trying to tell her that she's not happy where she is. And it will serve her to start paying attention to that anxiety. What is this anxiety trying to tell me? The anxiety means something. I believe it's the way the essence of us gets to tell us we's in a wrong job. Like, we don't belong here. Like, we need to get out of here. How else is our spirit or the essence of us or our true self, how else can this essence that we are communicate to us except through the emotional body, except through the body, except through things like anxiety, except through our emotions like frustration and anger. Our innate self is trying to send us signals, and our brain will, because we've been taught to be outer focused and to be superficial and be of the world, and to put more faith in money and more faith in what other people think we should do, and try to keep up with the Joneses. That's all of the illusion of the mind. So the mind is telling us that we should be pharmacists. The mind is telling us that we should be computer analysts. The mind, based on outside information that has nothing to do with what the innate self is telling us we should do. Now, am I saying that everybody should go and quit their day job? Hell no. You got to support your children. I know I wanted to be a writer, but I didn't quit my day job. I wrote at 2:30 in the morning, or I wrote when I got home from work. I was smart about it. I had to save money. I had to support my family, but at the same time, I began to follow my bliss when I could. And that just brought great levity to my life because I felt like I was moving, at least I was creating a forward-moving momentum in a direction that I knew would ultimately bring me to a much happier place. I could never have imagined that this is the place that it would bring me, that I would have this much abundance and this much love and this much light. Never, never. I mean, seriously, never thought it would be this good. But I just kept following my bliss little by little. So I say, if you want to be a writer, then write. I don't care if you got to wake up at 2:30 in the morning. Stop making excuses. If you want to be a writer, start a blog. If you want to be a writer, write a chapter a day. If you want to be a writer, then go on the internet and research what it is to how you can take a class. If you want to be a dancer, start with a dance class. Start with a dance blog. Write about it online. Join online communities on Google Plus communities. Watch YouTube videos. Post your own YouTube videos. I'm not saying if you're an accountant, quit that job. I'm saying start doing things. Start honoring how you feel. Start honoring your essence. Your body is telling you something. Your essence is telling you that you're in the wrong place with anxiety, or your essence is telling you that you're in the right place with peace and harmony. The goal is to, like in my other videos I talk about, accept, feel, and then decide. The goal is to get to a point where you accept. My goodness gracious, this is a lot more difficult than you might think. So the goal is to learn how to accept what the body feels, to feel it, to honor it, and then to decide with a thinking mind, with a cognitive thinking mind, with the prefrontal cortex, not the amygdala and the hippocampus, dear ones, with the prefrontal cortex. We start deciding what we want to do about the way we feel. So, wrapping it up, how we feel is about learning to understand that that is divine guidance. That is our essence speaking to us through the body. So, if I am having, if I was diagnosed, and I'm sure I would have been at 12 years old with anxiety disorder, that would have been a label that was placed on me, right? But if the people that were diagnosing me did not take into account why I felt anxiety, then my mind would have attached a negative label to my anxiety. Now I know, looking back, all of my weird coping skills, all of my anxiety was telling me something. I went to nursing school. I excelled at it because I was a super achiever and I was seeking validation outside of self. And so that was my motivation, because I didn't know where the hell to get validation. I didn't know that I was supposed to be listening to myself. I didn't know that it was okay to want to be a writer and actually pursue that in college. I didn't know that. My father told me no. And I wanted to please my daddy. Those of you who have read my book, The Road Back to Me, you know that story. So that all goes back to being an ACOA and trying to get daddy's validation and never getting it and whatever. So my diagnosis of having an anxiety disorder would have been inappropriate, because the reality is my anxiety was appropriate. I had anxiety because I was moving in the wrong direction. My essence had a calling, and I knew it. I knew when I was 7 I wanted to be a writer. Hello, puppy. Where'd she go? I knew that I wanted to be a writer. And so my essence was constantly sending me those signals. When I was in nursing school, I would get stomach cramps. I would get all sorts of panic attacks. And that was all a signal, like, girl, you moving in the wrong direction. Like, what are you doing? Just like, listen to this anxiety. Get out of this place. Like you're not built to be a nurse. That's not why you're here. You know? And so had I listened to my body, I wouldn't have suffered like these little mini nervous breakdowns. I wouldn't have had that panic and that craziness that overwhelmed me so much of my life and made me think that there really was something wrong with me. Had I learned to listen to the anxiety and honor the anxiety and get into alignment with what I really wanted, I could have saved myself so much turmoil. So dear ones, the goal is integration. Integration of what? Mind, body, and soul. So the further your body and mind are from, the less your mind accepts what your body's saying, the more anxiety you're going to have. So understand that this big rift between your mind and your body is the result of being raised by people that didn't do a very good job at teaching you how to honor how you feel, because they didn't honor how you feel. Okay, now, fast forward. We as big people now, we've all grown up, and it's time for us to use our mind, and we start validating what the hell we feel like. So I hope that this has helped you. Please leave me your comments. Give me an idea of whether or not this really helped you understand more about what direction you need to go in to help you heal from all this dysfunctional stuff that has you believing you ain't enough. Dear one, you're made of the stardust. Don't forget that. You're made of stardust. And if no one's told you that, I am honored to be the first one to tell you, you are enough. Namaste. I bow to the love and the light in you, dear ones. Bye.